Hi and welcome back to DPAF. My name is Elena and I'm joined today by David Pattinson to discuss lockdown double standards in Great Britain. David, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you again.
What have been the double standards relates to lockdown this year?
Well, there's been so many, Elena. I think the biggest one of all was the Black Lives Matter protests in the summer. Leading up to that, the government and the media were really shaming anyone that kind of socialized with anyone else or got close to anyone else or congregated in big groups. They were saying, this is spreading the virus, this is very bad behavior. And then all of a sudden, like tens of thousands of people poured onto the streets of London to protest on behalf of Black Lives Matter. And no one in the government said anything. No one said, like, this is spreading the virus, this is bad. So there was a total double standard. Anyone, if you'd congregated with like 3 people in your family, you were like a killer. But if you congregate for like 20,000 people in central London, that was okay. So it was a total blatant double standard. I think another one was the sort of the power of corporations versus small business. If you're a small market stall or a food seller selling vegetables, that was too dangerous. You couldn't do that because you were spreading the virus. But if you were a big chain of supermarkets or Tesco's or Sainsbury's, you could open up your massive store for customers. That was safe. That wasn't spreading the virus. So a lot of double standards. There's plenty of others as well. The government have constantly been, changing what is and isn't good behavior just based on events, based on things that suit them. And I think the people are seeing through this. They're seeing the fraud for what it is. And that's what's hurting the government's credibility or continues to hurt their credibility, in my view.
Has the primary purpose of lockdown been to save lives or to impose government authority?
Well, I think the government would tell you it's all about saving lives, but yet their actions, to me, are a power grab. It's all about expanding government authority. It's interfering with the lives of people more and more. I mean, to a micro degree, the government are now trying to regulate how you're supposed to sit at your dinner table and, how many times you should be allowed out during the day and what information you have to reveal to the police and to government people whenever you meet them, and more interference. I mean, that's sort of saying, you can't leave the country unless you got certain permission. You can't drive out of your town unless you got certain permission. So I don't think a lot of this stuff is connected to saving lives. You got to remember that the deaths in Britain are small relative to the population. We got 70 million people in the country, which is like a ton of people. And the number of deaths is that many deaths, We started the year with 70 million population. We'll end the year with 70 million population. Our population size is not at risk. Our freedom is at risk because of the expansion of government authority, which is far beyond the government remit. That is my position, and that is why I speak out against this creep of government authority. I don't like it.
How does the government use media manipulation to control the people?
Well, the media has become the government. When I was young, the media was a sort of a check and balance on the government. The media was sort of exposing government corruption. It was exposing government deceit. It was exposing government fraud. And now, of course, the media is part of the government. Members of the government are in the media. People on government payrolls are in the media. And the media is there to control the population, to manipulate the people. And they do it through de-emphasizing strength and overemphasizing weakness. There was a lady called Kate Garraway, who I don't really know that much about, but I'm pretty sure her husband had the virus and was very ill, and he might even have died. And so the media made out this guy was sort of typical of a virus recipient. Prince William and Kate Middleton were sort of really sad about this guy, and Kate Garraway was always on TV crying. But of course, this guy wasn't typical of a virus recipient. Someone who's typical of a virus recipient is someone that, is ill for a couple of days and then goes back to work. That's the norm. But the media wanted to portray this guy as being, typical of if you get the virus. It's designed to frighten the people. It's designed to over hype and over exaggerate the threat from the virus, when in reality the virus is not that serious. So it's an example of media manipulation. It's an example of media double standards. But the point I want to make is that the media is the government. They're there to shape opinion rather than to reflect opinion, which is what they used to do.
Looking back, do British citizens now see lockdowns as a bait and switch?
Yeah, I do think that, because when it started, the government said this is just going to last for 2 weeks. We just need to lock down for 2 weeks. Then we can stop the spread of the virus. The health services can catch up and expand capacity, and then everything can go back to normal. And that's not what's happened. I mean, that's what the people were told, but that is not what's happened. The government keep changing the rules. Every time it's 2 weeks, it's like, well, now we need another 2 weeks. Now we need another 2 weeks. Now we need another month. Now, we had to expand the health service to cope with demand, but now we're shutting down the Nightingale Hospital because there's not enough people. So it's constant bait and switch. The people are told, hey, you can have Christmas. Then they're told Christmas is too dangerous. So it's constant over-promising and under-delivering. It's constantly moving the goalposts, and I think the people are onto this. I mean, I was onto it early, but it doesn't matter about when I was onto it. The most important thing is the people understand that the government is lying to them, and that's why there's this big problem in the country, that the people and the government are not singing from the same hymn sheet. They're not on the same page. The people feel they're being exploited and deceived and lied to and manipulated, and that's why there's all this unhappiness, and that's why there's all this instability.
How has big tech influenced government policy in Great Britain?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. I mean, the technology companies of the United States have infiltrated Britain, and now British communication between British citizens has to go through a filter in the United States, in a foreign country. Now, I'm in America right now, and these big tech companies like Google and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter are unpopular here. I mean, the American people don't like these companies. So if the American people don't like them, and they're their own people, how are they going to be doing things in the interests of the British people? I think we need to get rid of all these big tech companies in Great Britain. We need to have our own tech companies who are there to uphold British civil liberties, to uphold freedom of speech, not to interfere with it, not to manipulate it, not to suppress speech that they do not like and promote speech that they do like. British people have the right to freedom of speech. They can speak to each other any way they want, and they need to be able to have the ability to share information anywhere they want. Information that suits British people, that does not suit foreign corporations. And the government should be taking my position on this, but of course the government stand on the side of the censors rather than on the side of free speech. These big foreign technology companies have way too much power in Britain, and we need to put a stop to it, yeah.